From Graham. New controversies for President Trump after his attorney, Rudy Giuliani, tried to defend him again on television. Giuliani said Sunday his client would not have to comply with a potential subpoena from special counsel Robert Mueller in the Russia investigation. Adele Hurd is on this story.
Giuliani told ABC's This Week program the president may not cooperate with the Mueller investigation, which some say has turned into a fishing expedition. He said it was no longer a good faith investigation.
But what happens if Robert Mueller subpoenas the president? Will you comply?
Well, we don't have to. He's the president of the United States. We can assert the same privileges other presidents have.
And Giuliani went on to say that even if the president does testify, he can't rule out the possibility that Mr. Trump would invoke the Fifth Amendment. This after President Trump said he'd like to sit down with Mueller.
I would love to speak. I would love to go. Nothing I want to do more because we did nothing wrong.
Giuliani was also doing damage control after his comments last week about the Stormy Daniels accusations.
Right now, I'm at the point where I'm learning, and I can't prove that. I can just say it's rumor.
Giuliani had revealed the president repaid his personal attorney for a $130,000 hush payment to the porn star, despite the president denying he knew of the payment.
Did you know about the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels?
Giuliani now says he's not actually aware of when the president learned about the payment to Daniels.
Why did the president deny any knowledge of the payments when, in fact, he had
made
I don't
the
know.
payments? I don't know when the president learned about it.
Stormy Daniels' attorney fired back.
The president had effectively an extramarital affairs slush fund that was administered by Michael Cohen, and that he would just be expected to take care of these things.
Giuliani contends the Mueller team does not have a case on collusion with the Russians or on obstruction, but might try to get the president on perjury. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Hawaii's Kilauea volcano continues to erupt this morning, leaving behind a destructive path. The number of homes destroyed by Hawaii's volcano has risen to 26 as scientists report lava spewing more than 200 feet into the air at times. More than 1,700 people evacuated. Hawaii officials say molten rock, toxic gas, and steam have been bursting through openings in the ground.
It's bad. It's the toxic gases is bad. The level of lava that is coming out of that fissure is bad. The amount of volume of lava is bad. I mean, this whole thing is a bad situation.
The eruption was sparked after a magnitude 6.9 earthquake struck last week, the largest to hit Hawaii in more than 40 years. Scientists warned this event, though, is far from over. Hundreds of small earthquakes continue to jolt the area. Here's a look now at some of the other headlines we're following for you inside the CBN newsroom today. An Alabama teenager is alive after being brain dead for several days. Trenton McKinley was in a dune buggy accident where he suffered life-threatening injuries. Doctors said the young boy was dead, brain dead that is, but Trenton came back to life after his parents signed paperwork to donate his organs. The 13-year-old says he did go to heaven while he was in a coma. North Korea is sending a warning to the White House. The regime is accusing President Trump's administration of sending misleading claims that sanctions and pressures have brought the North to the negotiating table. The North is warning the U.S. not to miscalculate peace talks as a sign of weakness. Vladimir Putin has taken the oath of office for his fourth term as Russia's president. Putin won the 6-year term in March, where he received 77% of the votes. He has been the leader of Russia for all of the 21st century. You can find more on these stories throughout the day at cbnnews.com. After Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu exposed Iran's atomic secrets, critics charged he revealed nothing new. But as Chris Mitchell reports, Netanyahu maintains his evidence will prove them wrong.
After Prime Minister Netanyahu's presentation, CBN News took part in an exclusive off-camera briefing by Netanyahu. While much of his insight was off the record, he made clear on the record the information he presented was new in both quality and quantity.
Netanyahu said 100% of the people who said there was nothing new did not see the material. They're going to see it now because we're passing it on to the main intelligence services.
It's very new stuff. It was new to our intelligence agencies. It's new to your intelligence agencies. And what I can tell you is Iran's program was much more advanced than we had previously believed.
What Prime Minister Netanyahu did was he authenticated our suspicions.
The pushback already has been that this is rehashing old information. How would you respond to some of the criticism that's come already?
Even if we knew about the idea of taking the conventional warhead off of a Shahab 3 missile and putting a spherical nuclear device there instead, we never knew it from basically an Iranian government source. This is something entirely new.
One senior Israeli official also revealed 3 elements to building an atomic arsenal. 1 is enriched uranium, or the gunpowder. 2 is weaponization, or the bullet. 3 is a ballistic missile, or the gun. The current Iranian agreement does not address the gun at all. It hardly mentions the bullet, and in a few years will allow Iran to produce as much gunpowder as it wants. Netanyahu sees that as a 1-2-3 recipe for disaster in the form of an Iranian nuclear arsenal. Given this information, Netanyahu is saying the world needs to either fix the Iranian deal or nix it. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Coming up, the debate over gun control takes center stage in Dallas, where the NRA held its annual convention this weekend. CBN News hears from both sides. Rapper Meek Mill has been freed from prison and now says God has a new plan for his life. Mill told NBC News in a Sunday night interview with Dateline, it is time to focus on criminal justice reform. It was his first interview since the Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned a judge's decision that had imprisoned him for a probation violation. He told NBC News, God put me in a position to be a voice for the voiceless. Mill laid out a new path he is charting to reform the U.S. prison system and how it treats people of color. Former members of the LGBTQ community took to the streets to celebrate their new life in Christ. The Freedom March in Washington, D.C. featured a worship service and testimonials from former members of the gay and lesbian community. Pulse nightclub survivor Luis Ruiz says it was the love and grace from Christians that brought him out of his former lifestyle.
It wasn't a gay to straight thing. It was a lost to save thing.
I wanted to have a march where everyone that came out of homosexual or transgender lives could come together and have an event to hear each other's stories, and also to have an event to just speak on our freedom we found through Jesus Christ.
Freedom March founder Jeffrey McCall says they plan to expand the event to other cities in the near future. As the midterm elections approach, the debate over guns in America is intensifying. This weekend, America's most powerful gun lobby attracted the nation's most powerful leaders as gun control activists claim momentum is on their side. Our Jennifer Wishon is in Dallas with more on this story.
Well, hello, NRA.
For gun enthusiasts, the NRA's annual meeting is a yearly showing of guns, gear, and gusto for the Second Amendment.
There's all kinds of things going on in the world, and I feel like being here is, part of making a difference, really.
It's our right, it's our duty to protect ourselves, our families, and our property, and keep America safe.
For the second time as Commander-in-Chief, President Trump rocked the crowd.
So let's talk about guns, shall we?
The line to get in to see him speak seemed to never end. Despite previous talk about raising the age to purchase certain firearms and banning bump stocks after the shooting at a high school in Florida this winter, the president made a promise.
Your Second Amendment rights are under siege, but they will never, ever be under siege as long as I'm your president.
And he tied holding the line on gun rights to maintaining and increasing a Republican majority in Congress.
We've got to get Republicans elected. We've got to do great in 2018.
As the national debate over guns continues, school and church safety is on the minds of many NRA members, but some say instead of restricting people's guns, restoring God and traditional values is the answer.
We've taken religion and ethics, it seems like, out of everything, out of schools, and this is what's happening to our country.
Aaron and Sarah Barnett homeschooled their kids.
There's not a lot of school shootings at the house.
Aaron teaches his children gun safety and often open carries to engage people in his community.
If I'm walking around Walmart with him, I don't really seem like a big threat, and then we get to, talk to people, and that's been helpful.
Steps away from the NRA meeting, Manuel Oliver, a father who lost his son Joaquin in a school shooting, created a mural as victims and survivors of gun violence told their stories.
We are demanding that Congress actually enables legislation and policies that are going to actually create change. Prayers and thoughts do not create change.
Charlotte Vanyo and Nicholas Reyes organized a walkout at their high school in a Dallas suburb.
To me, this thing of arming teachers is a way for the NRA to sell twice as many guns to the people shooting and to then the people supposedly having to be trained to defend them. These people didn't sign up for these. Our teachers are here to educate children, and their job isn't to protect us from something the government won't protect us from.
Back at the NRA meeting, Clarence Jackson recruited veterans to join the VFW. He says it's important to protect the Second Amendment, but encourages both sides to lead with love.
Right now, we're a polarized society, and you can't be on one side without somebody demonizing you for being on that side. I'm one of those Christians that believe that, if we love one another, we show love to one another, we should be able to sit down and talk about the things that, that matters.
For now, both sides seem content to fiercely stand their ground. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Dallas.
Still ahead, he's being called a walking miracle. We're going to introduce you to a teenager who was once on life support and given little chance to live. Pastor Andrew Brunson heads back to court in Turkey today and could be imprisoned in the country for 35 years for what many are calling unjust charges. Our Abigail Robertson brings us the story.
Tom Tillis is sending a strong message to Turkey. Release Pastor Andrew Brunson and send him home, or prepare for the consequences.
Right now we're moving to another phase in this saga, which includes the very clear and sad reality that we may have to take actions that could hurt a relationship that I wish we were building on.
Tillis traveled to Turkey twice this year to support Brunson and attend his court hearings. On his second trip, he took a letter signed by 66 senators showing American leaders are prepared to act if the Turks refuse to release him.
I think that we sent a very clear message that we're all watching.
Tillis insisted on going to court to hear firsthand the charges against Brunson. He says the pastor's only crime is serving Turkey for 20 years as a Christian missionary.
It's unlike anything I've ever seen in a U.S. courtroom. The way that they just conduct themselves, the flimsy circumstantial evidence, that he could keep his composure when you heard some of the things that they're using to convict this man to 35 years in prison, basically a death sentence, was remarkable.
Brunson is one of many Americans currently imprisoned in Turkey, including a NASA scientist and consulate workers.
This is a serious problem, and Pastor Brunson is really the tip of the iceberg.
Tillis warns Americans to stay away.
In my opinion, right now, no American is safe traveling to Turkey.
Tillis says he's ready for a marathon and will keep fighting until Pastor Brunson's release. Reporting from Capitol Hill, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
A Williamsburg, Virginia teenager could be described as a walking miracle. He survived a serious car crash, but doctors gave little hope that Juan Spence would be alive. Still, his parents prayed that he would live to tell the world of God's healing power. Our Charlene Aaron brings us this miracle story.
May 22nd, 2017, a date that forever changed the life of Juan Spence. The 17-year-old basketball and track star was leaving his high school in a friend's car when the ride took a tragic turn. The friend was speeding and lost control, hitting a signpost. The car went airborne and flipped several times. Juan, who was not wearing a seatbelt, was ejected through the sunroof. The car landed on Juan's head. Juan was rushed to a local hospital. Doctors determined that extreme pressure and swelling in his brain meant they must remove a piece of his skull.
I just had to start praying immediately. Lord God, what is going on? What is going to be the outcome? And I just immediately heard the Holy Spirit say, he shall live and not die.
The prognosis looked grim. The traumatic brain injury left Juan hooked up on life support. Doctors gave him just a 5% chance of survival, adding, if he somehow survived, Juan would never speak or walk again. Elizabeth recalls her reaction to the doctor's negative report.
I respect you as a professional. However, you don't have the final say-so concerning our son. That is what I said.
And you said God has.
I said God has the final say-so, and we will wait to see what God does, because I don't believe that's what's going to be the fate of our son.
Yeah. And I went over to my son's ear and I said, Juan, this is Dad. You shall live and not die.
Kept speaking in his ear.
To proclaim the works of the Lord.
Yes.
His parents, both ministers, held on to their faith and rallied prayers from family, friends, and the community.
We cried and we held it together, but we continued to speak faith, and we did not waver in our faith.
After 3 days, Juan was out of his coma, but still on life support. The next day, he started to show signs of progress. He began moving his fingers and toes. 3 weeks later, to the surprise of doctors, he moved forward to standing, walking, and talking. He says during the coma, he witnessed a spiritual battle being waged for his life.
There was a demon coming across in the air, and it was coming towards me. But there was also a golden angel in armor with a sword. And the angel, he slayed the demon, and it vanished.
Juan admits his recovery has not been easy. He was in the hospital for more than 2 months and endured painful physical therapy.
It's been very hard. At one point in time, I cried every day. It's basically like how people joke about trying to do something with your hand tied behind your back. I live through that every single day, even today.
After 3 brain surgeries in as many as 3 months, the high school senior is now back in school. And 197 days after the accident, he returned to the basketball court.
It's been a while, huh?
Although he still has no voluntary movement in his left arm and suffers paralysis on the left side of his face, Juan remains grateful and sees bigger things ahead.
It's only because God had a plan for me.
A big change from the way he used to think.
Even though my parents were pastors, I really didn't think God was anything, because I really thought the Bible was just a book with a bunch of words. I didn't really think anything much of it. I didn't really think I needed him, but I need him now. I trust in the Lord with all my heart and lean not to my own understanding.
Many have been inspired by his miraculous story, including some of those who treated him and doubted his survival.
The very doctor is so amazing. The very doctor that gave us that 5%, he's now praising the Lord.
He said, I believe God had the final say-so, huh?
Yeah.
It's according to your faith.
Yeah.
And we just could not waver. Yes, it was tested, it was tried, but we could not doubt. And I would encourage anyone just to not doubt God, because he is faithful to do what he has promised. And when his word goes forth, it shall not return to you void. And he said he shall live and not die, and that is exactly what he did.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
He shall live and not die. We all need a relationship with Jesus Christ. Stay with us. We're coming back. Welcome back. Operation Blessing has stepped up to help a single mother in need in El Salvador. Martha often travels to work, taking any job she can get, while her 3 children are at school, but she still wasn't always able to make enough to feed them every day. Operation Blessing learned about her dedication to her children and decided to bless her in a big way. Operation Blessing El Salvador provided Martha with all new supplies to help her to restart her small business, a small store that she used to run. Now she works from home and is able to pay the bills and to support her family. Time now for your Monday Motivation. Consider this thought as we all begin another work week. It is a great day to get busy working on that long-delayed project, that long-delayed dream, vision. Remember, good intentions are nice, but good intentions without action don't get the job done. and good intentions don't replace obedience. With that word, be sure to make this a marvelous Monday. That is a wrap for this edition of CBN News. Remember, you can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. We'd love to hear what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that by emailing newswatch@cbn.com. Hope you have a marvelous Monday and a wonderful week. We'll see you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye and God bless.